And there's the music, Jimmy. Hello, everyone. This is From the Margins with James Afan. My dear friend, Jimmy, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I decided to do something because I think it needs to be discussed. Uh, Realistically, people do not realize we're still in war with Iran. You can call it whatever you want. You could say that they had that we eliminated their air force, their navy, and that we're winning it. Whatever you want. They're not surrendering. They're not giving up. They're still shooting at us, and become very belligerent about it. This thing that Trump keeps saying that they want the deal, and then they come back and say he's lying. We don't want any deals, and then they sit down with Qatar. Just Qatar and Iran are sitting down to discuss what the agreement should be. There's nobody from the U.S. Nobody, and they're saying this is what we want. And some of the things that they want are ridiculous, but hey, it's a wish list, and we all have ridiculous wish lists. But this is the concern I have. We're not talking to you about certain truths. Let's start from the first one. This week on Military Times, an official publication of the U.S. Armed Forces, not owned by any liberal media or conservative media, owned by them. And a report from the New York Times says that sailors on the USS Abraham Lincoln have tried to commit suicide. They're short of water. They're short on food. They've been in the Gulf course since November of last year. They're going for a year. They haven't come home. They are demoralized to a maximum. Their family members, not some crazy liberals or not some crazy conservative, their family members have had meetings with the armed forces and try to tell them the situation and try to seek help for their loved ones. And they've been going to the media saying about the situation, about the war, and how demoralized they are. Okay. And we're winning the war and everything is going well and everything is going great. This is the result of a president appointing a moron, an alcoholic who was on TV, who claims to be a veteran, who claims to know everything about the military and knows shit about the military. I served in the army and I know about the army, but I know nothing about the Air Force. I know nothing about the Marines. Know nothing about the Coast Guard. I know nothing about the U.S. Navy. Never served in them, never came close, and so believe it or not, they're kept separately from one and the other. So at this point, has decided to appoint this person as Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War, whichever you want to call it. I don't care. The truth of this war is 2 points. One, Netanyahu came and took it for our president for a fool, got him involved, and got him involved too quick. Let me give you an example. World War II. Eisenhower was going to invade Europe.
Mm-hmm.
He took 1 year to plan that invasion. He took 1 year to get what's called current current intelligence. Donald J. Trump got from Netanyahu, we have to do it now, and we did it with no planification, with no anything. Just take everything, bombard the shit out of them, and they will surrender. And it didn't happen that way. Our intelligence was not current. The excuse given for bombarding the girls' school was that their intelligence of 2 years ago said that was
Hmm.
an army base. They bombarded based on 2 years prior intelligence reports. I would not use 2 months ago, much less 2 years ago. But that's why we went into a war. War that was never explained to us why we were going in, and it was never explained to us what was the threat. But we went into it. We bombarded the shit out of them. We eliminated a Navy that had not been updated since 1979, and an Air Force that had not been updated since 1979. Whoopee. Big deal. We won the war according to our president. Yet, as of 2 weeks ago, people in Iran were able to shoot missiles and kill people in U.S. bases in the Mediterranean. Now, I want to bring a truth here that's going to piss off a lot of people, but we need to hear this. When people tell me that it's bullshit that we have all these weapons, that it's a lie, that we have all these weapons and that we don't have to worry about it, let me bring you current. When Iran threw these missiles to Saudi Arabia and the other countries where he killed our soldiers, we did not have any Patriots missiles in the area that could have taken them down. You know why? Because all the Patriots and other missiles that we had used months prior to protect Israel. Okay? All those things that intercepted the drones and everything else were out there. He protected Israel. Understand? But we don't have any weapons right now to avoid our soldiers from being killed in Saudi Arabia from rockets thrown from Iran. We just don't have. If we had, we would have used them, and those people would have not died. It's the second truth. We have a president that lies to us, and we know that. They're begging for a deal. Every time he says he's begging for a deal, one of the Revolutionary Guard people make a nose conference and basically say, fuck it, we're not. That's a lie. So basically, we are in a war that we are not winning and that has made Jimmy Carter and Donald J. Trump the same person. You know what I'm
Jimmy
saying?
Carter and Donald J. Trump are the same people. Wow.
You want me to tell you
Uh,
why I say that?
I was about to mention the hostage crisis of what, well over a
No,
year
no.
that
Both of them, their presidency downfall was Iran.
so so you think that the Iran war is going to be the downfall of Donald Trump, his presidency?
Well, let me put it in terms. We have never had soldiers trying to kill themselves during a war situation because they've been overworked. We've never had that. Two, right now, I don't think anybody in the United States really thinks that we are one. This was a war that we did it before we got attacked. That's nobody in this country believes that. And second, that we have won this war when the stretch of Hormuz is still closed and when they're still throwing out rockets. And three, the economic effects of this war, which was the same thing with Jimmy Carter that we keep forgetting. Jimmy Carter, the cost of oil skyrocketed and everything else skyrocketed. And we just got the report from the government, and it's between a 4 to 5% inflation increase from the month before, solely based, mostly based on the cost of oil. So yeah, they're there. Did Jimmy Carter ever win a war with Iran? No. Can we really say that Donald Trump has won the war with Iran? No. Has the cost of living been fucked up because of the wars in Iran both times? The answer to that is yes. So yes, it's a downfall because I don't see how we can think unless we want to take some pot and mix it with some other heavy drugs and put it in our system and say, hey, he's going to come out of this rosy. That's more of a hope than a reality. Could it happen? Sure. And I could put it down, down tomorrow for the Powerball and hit it. The chances of that are slim to none, but it could happen. So,
Right.
as of today, the downfall of Donald J. Trump has been Iran. He did not plan this right. It has backfired on him. And right now, his generals and his staff are looking for an off ramp out of this. And it's really to the point that, yes, and I'll go a step further. This is the
Okay.
part, this is the second time that Israel's tell Donald J. Trump, hey, they're going to try to kill you. And he changed planes because of their recommendation. And we know that both planes went back to the United States, and there was no real threat to either of them. But it's all this bullshit that we're still accepting what Netanyahu and his people are telling us when we have had more than one occasion that what they told us ended up being bullshit. So I'm just concerned that we're not discussing it the way we need to. Have we won this war? No. And since we have not won it, we are the most powerful country in the world. Yet, we have not been able to take down Iran. Government's still there. Who's running it? Is a bullshit question that a lot of people ask to
Oh,
avoid.
Jim.
No. It's bullshit because we have not taken down the old one nor the new one. We killed them. Yeah,
Right.
but
Yep.
have they surrendered? No. Are they more of hardliners than they were before? To some degree, yes. Are have we? Can we say that we can sit down and negotiate with the new government? Not really. So what have we accomplished other than killing some people? I'm not sure. And you know, to me, victory, I cannot call it. The reality is that we have an idiot for a Secretary of Defense. Do you know
Mhm.
who's the leading country in the world in defense right now?
The leading country in the world in defense. It
That's
depends on
advising
how you
people.
define it.
Well, it's
I mean,
advising a lot of people, including us,
okay.
and they're selling weapons, and they're the little kid on the block who's beat the crap out of the big kid in the block.
I would think if we're going by that definition, I'm immediately going to say Israel.
Now,
Whoa, hello. It's not Israel? Well, then I was going to go back to China, um, but they're not the little kid on the block.
first of all,
Russia.
Israel is not the little kid on the block that took out Hamas. That's to say that uh, that Hamas was bigger than Israel is a little bit
Okay, okay, all right. No, 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 no.
okay.
Um, hey, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to take a stab in the dark here. Turkey?
No,
Oh, Jimmy, then I am completely lost.
who
I,
is kill? Who is using drones and robots to take out their enemy and is selling those drones and robots to the rest of the world, including us?
I, Jimmy, if you're going to say Ukraine,
It is.
Jimmy, no. They're asking us. Zelensky was just here asking us to send more
More money.
weapons to them.
Yes, he needs
They
weapons.
got our Patriot missiles.
He's asking for weapons. There's no problem. But
Yeah, and
he
money.
is using drones
Yes.
to take down Russia. And I call Ukraine a smaller country than Russia. And I think that's a fair
Yeah.
assessment.
Yeah. There is. That is. Yeah.
Okay. and 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 what they're doing is using cheap drones, and I'm going to call it,
Yeah. That's
to
true.
take out Russia. So, and you know what Iran did to us? They were sending cheap drones to
Exactly.
Israel that cost them about $3,000, and we
Yep.
were hitting them with Patriots that cost us 4 million.
Yeah.
So, you know, the war and the world have changed. Hussack is too stupid to understand that. He's a moron. We're still thinking uh, he has a problem with the USS Abraham Lincoln that everybody knows
Yeah.
and hasn't been dealt with as of today. Okay, and it's not something that turned out last week. It's been going on for months. It's something that was
Yes.
put in the reports. Look, you cannot keep these people this long in a ship without severe consequences. And people are completely right.
Uh,
But
mm,
so the problem is you have to find a way to do this. Does anybody really think in this country that we won this war? No. Does anybody think that Iran is still a country that's capable of killing our soldiers? Yes, because they have done it.
yeah.
Uh, have they surrendered? Hell no. Have they told us to go to hell? Hell yes.
Yeah.
So, the concern I have is that we're trying to pretend that everything is okay. As of today, for 2 straight weeks,
Mhm.
price of gasoline in my hometown of Orlando, Florida, is $3.99.
Yep.
And the reason for that price is Iran. For those of you who lied to the American public, but we're selling a lot of oil. Yeah, but the price of oil has not gone down. And the
Mhm.
people who's making money for all the oil that we're selling are the rich and the powerful, which, by the way, Donald Trump
Well,
criticized and told them that they should drop their prices, and they've told them, and they have. Uh, Look, you could criticize Carvel, you could criticize everybody around them. The
mhm.
reason that people are pissed off is one simple thing: is the economy stupid? You could publish all the bullshit that say, "Hey, look, the inflation is less than 2%." Nobody believes that because that's not the result of their pocket. I used to fill out the tank of my car with $25. Now it's 37.
Mhm.
That's a increase of $12. You multiply that, yes. When I go to buy food, is the food more expensive? Yeah. Is everything more expensive? Yes. And the problem is, and this is the thing, as much as people are trying to say that's Biden's fault, it's been 18 months. Okay.
Mhm.
Now is the time that Donald J. Trump will take the fall for anything that's happening now. Just like Biden should have took it for 2 years ago. That's correct. But to try to say, no, 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 this is the problem. If you still think that what's happening in this country is the result of that Democrats eat children, you have a problem.
Yeah. That's weird.
Hey, don't start me with QAnon because there's a lot of MAGA people wanting to QAnon.
They believe that. Yeah.
Okay, uh, if you believe that this war
Mhm.
is over, you need to go and check yourself out. If you think that this war has had no serious consequence in our economy, you have a problem. If you think that this war has not affected the morale of our troops, you have a serious problem. If you think that We alone can defeat Iran, invade them, and take over their government and change their nationality. No, you cannot bombard yourself into winning this war. Jimmy Carter
Okay.
tried it, Ronald Reagan tried it, and they couldn't. And Donald J. Trump, who's not as smart as those two, couldn't either. You do not, and this is something that you have to agree with me. You do not jump into a campaign to get elected for any office without sitting down at least 30 to 45 days in putting together a plan. And that plan will say, this is the strengths, this is our weaknesses. Can we win or can we not? What are we going against and what we're not going against? This thing was planned in 2 weeks. He is the commander in chief. Our military followed his instructions. Our military sat down and told him it's not a good idea. The stretch of Hormuz is going to become a problem. And these people are fanatics, and you're not going to be able to bombard yourself into power of a country of 90 million people. This is not a small flyby country. This is a country of 90 million people. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, he believed Netanyahu. Vance was against it. Rubio was against it. The military was against it. But he said, hell with all of you. I'm the smartest kid in the block, and I'm going to do it. And he reminds me of a lot of candidates that you and I have worked with that we sit down, don't do that. That's
Yeah.
stupid. And they go and they do it because I know more than everybody who's there to advise them. And that's what's happened mostly with Iran.
Right.
This was not properly planned or anything that he thought, because Netanyahu thought you bombard them for 10 days, and day 11 they will surrender. Well, let me put it this way: they have never surrendered. That's not a word we can we say that we took out the Navy? Yeah, we can say that. Can we say we took out
Mhm.
that? Yeah, we can say that. Can we say that we control the Strait of Hormuz? No, the boats are still there. It is carved out. And who controls it right now in this? We're going to be saying is Iran. If they don't want you to get through, you don't get through. We have negotiated with them. We signed an agreement. They say we violated first. We say they violated first. The truth of the matter is that
Mhm.
both of us violated it. So it's if you have a memorandum of understanding, you shouldn't be shooting at each other. But that's that's a story for another day. Ah, the thing that we need to understand is that you know who's against this agreement that is being discussed in Qatar, but very vividly against it.
If it's the cabal of former supporters of the president, the MAGA pretenders, Tucker, Candace, blah blah blah, Steve Bannon, blah blah blah. Um, hey, a larger scope of things, the
No,
Marjorie Taylor Greens.
no,
Okay, if it's not them. Okay, um, if we're talking about the European Union,
no,
okay, good, very good. Let's see. China and Russia have not joined the war, so it's not them. South America is pretty much fallen in
South America
favor.
doesn't give a shit about Iran.
True, 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 true. It's connected though.
No, no.
Um,
And let me tell you why they don't. Because
okay.
now that the market is open, they're getting their petroleum from Venezuela. Now that we took away the restrictions, they're getting the petroleum from. So It's very
which is a larger, which is part of the larger
no, no, no.
picture here.
I'm just trying to explain the thing
Okay.
that you do not understand.
Oh, okay.
Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Turkey have signed a self-protection plan based on the fact that they cannot rely on the United States. Okay,
Which is
they
good.
don't. But it's fine. They don't trust the agreements because they don't trust that the U.S. will follow through because they think that Trump will throw in a monkey again, like he did with Saudi Arabia. That the last one that they had to sign the Hebron Agreement, that was not the original agreement, so they don't trust the U.S. And to be honest, that's not fair. They don't trust Donald Trump. Okay,
So so they're
but there's somebody,
exercising
somebody
they're
else who,
exercising their strength as sovereign nations. Am I understanding that correctly?
yes, because they can't depend on the United States to help them.
Yes. Yes. That's what I
But,
wanted to hear, Jimmy. I think you
and
just
by the
made the
way,
case.
you know that what that the reverse of that, right?
The reverse of that,
Yeah,
meaning,
they won't help us either.
but Jimmy, when you have Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Qatar, Bahrain, and I could go on and on and on, but I'll stop there. When they're all signing deals with the United States and amongst themselves to keep commerce, keep oil,
No, 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 no,
keep
no, no, no,
energy
no, no,
going
no.
through
Let
alternate
me
means
repeat
besides
myself.
the Hormuz,
All
I,
those
I think
countries,
that's progress. I really
no,
do.
no,
I
no.
think that's
You
progress.
see, you're not listening. They signed some contracts many years ago. That's true. But right now,
No, right now, Jimmy.
no, no, no.
Iraq
Right
is a good
now, Saudi
example.
Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, and Turkey have filed an agreement to protect each other because they cannot count on the U.S. to come to their rescue. Okay,
They're exercising their
and that's
sovereign
the first step.
national
If I can't
sovereignty.
count on you for one thing, should I really want to do business with you? That's the other issue. The third issue is this: the biggest country who opposes this peace between them is Israel. Israel is opposed to this.
The, the 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 ruling government of Israel. I think we need to separate that out as we
Well,
separate
hey,
the people of Iran out, the 90 million people who ran away from
okay. So if
the
you want to put right
IRGC.
now, the government of Iran is opposed, and if Netanyahu is taken out, the new government is not the most friendly to Donald Trump either.
And remember, Turkey just signed an agreement for F-35s, um, in
And they buy and
in
they could buy from
opposition to in opposition to Netanyahu. Trump went ahead and made the deal with Erdogan.
and
Um,
the concern that you have to understand, they don't trust Trump. Period. He
okay,
changes. He's moody. He's this. He's that. Once the F-35s come in, they'll believe it. But and by the way, the time that those F-35s come in, Donald J. Trump won't be president. Just for the record, uh,
deal's done,
that'd
right?
and a new president will come
As
in.
well as the deal with Iraq. We're investing, American businesses are investing in restoring the pipeline that will move oil in Iraq.
Iraq is a different thing, but the truth
An
of the
ally.
matter is that that region, the whole region, has realized. Let me put it this way: one thing that I heard in the news, and I didn't think of it until I heard it. Saudi Arabia news has a
Mhm.
problem. They said it point blank. This is why when you tell me the Abraham Agreement, they're not going to sign it. They are angry with us over the fact And this came out on the news, which the people in control did not try to stop, which was that the U.S. did nothing to stop the missiles that were coming into Saudi Arabia, that came into United Arab Emirates, that came into Qatar, that came into Bihar. Did nothing to stop them. There was no patriots to intercept them. But when the same thing happened to Israel coming out of Iran, they were used. That has them really, really pissed. Because you have to understand that they are of the belief that we favor Israel over them. Is that true? That's an issue that we can discuss another day. But that's how they
Mhm.
feel. The trust factor has been the other issue or the consequence of this war. In the past, we could tell them, don't worry, we will protect you. Now that we didn't, it's kind of difficult to get that trust back. And that's
Well,
what I'm trying to say.
okay, I see your point, Jimmy. However, by association, to Donald Trump, these countries do not trust the United States by association. And therefore, they do not believe that the United States could protect them.
Would
Isn't that
protect
a,
them. Couldn't.
will
No,
protect
if
them?
they believe it
And
could, won't.
okay, won't. So that would be a good case for the United States to eventually exit the Middle East and allow those
And then
countries
take over.
to protect themselves, right?
No, 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 no. No.
You
Stop
sure?
being naive. Stop being naive.
No, 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 no. You agree with me about self determination of these countries and exercising their national sovereignty. We you agree with that. So
But
therefore,
that's bullshit
there,
because they have
er,
never done it. They have depended on us up to now. And what's going to happen is once we move out, China's going to move in.
oh come on, Jimmy, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Why
Why?
not?
That's first of
Why
all,
not?
why would China extend their resources and extend
Because they need the
their
petroleum. They don't have petroleum.
will
That's
buy it
what
on the open market? They
they
were getting it cheap. They were getting sanctioned cheap oil from Venezuela and
look.
from
You
Iran. Now that
I can say this,
those have been
but you're being
taken off
naive
the
when you
table,
think
now
that
they have to
that
pay for it like everyone else at the market rate.
you be naive.
And there's more
Hey,
of it on the market now.
well, there's more that's debatable because if there more, it shouldn't be $4 a gallon. But that's I know that's
Uh,
bullshit that's out there.
Talk to the globalists in London about that. We don't
Oh,
control the price of oil, Jimmy. You know that. We don't. The Brent crude, that's controlled by the traders and
and you know,
financiers
before you
in the
keep
city of London.
talking the way you talk, you might want to find out that the U.S. is part of the people in London.
I would say the banks are, but I wouldn't necessarily say
The
members
people
of the
who
members.
extract oil in this country and gas are members of OPEC that controls the price of oil. Our
No,
oil
no,
is
no,
controlled
no,
by
no,
the
no,
world
no.
market. We don't set our own prices here in this country. We don't.
Yeah, we don't. We don't. If we
So
did, we would be following the West Texas intermediate pricing, and we don't. We follow the international standard, the
no, no,
Brent
no, no,
crude
no, no, no. We don't
trade.
follow. We don't follow.
We do, Jimmy.
No, 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 no,
Right now,
no,
right
no,
now,
no,
the price of
no, no,
oil
no,
is
no, no, no.
dropping to $81,
Stop.
and that's
Stop.
the standard for the international community.
That's bullshit. We are
Ah,
part of that.
Jimmy.
No, no. We are part of that international community, and we are part of the ones that control the prices. Don't try to say somebody else. We're one of the major players in that group. We're
And
not.
I told you who we are. I told you they are the major banks who the financiers, there's seven of them, maybe up to 11, but seven big ones that
But we
control
control
the
those banks.
financing of this world.
We control
And
the
we don't
banks.
control these banks.
No, no, no. That's bullshit. You've been lied to. These
Okay.
banks, we control. Look,
Nah.
if we're so powerful, we could have said, look, fuck you. We're going to do our own thing. Why we don't do it? Because we would lose money.
Give it time.
No, give it time. It's not going to happen. That's an illusion that I've been hearing since I was in my 20s, and I'm now in my 70s. It's not going to happen. People who have power don't give it away. Okay, that's that is the truth. But let's go back to the war. The wars can.
Okay, okay. I do have some statements here. I've been taking
Okay, go.
copious notes. The Military Times. I am aware of that report, and to put things in context, we're talking about 200 families from the USS Lincoln, and there's of course thousands of military on the USS Lincoln. Just to put it into perspective, yes, it's been 250 days that the Lincoln was moved from the Pacific to the Gulf. That is very true. 40 straight days of combat readiness. That's the stress. That's the stress. I'm going to go back to the Iraq War and our dear friend, another exemplar, a good example of Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld, and saying, which really, irked me. You go to war with the army that you have, the military that you have, not the one that you want. And yes, there have been some military who have expressed their displeasure, and they have been suicidal or whatever. Yes, that is occurring. I'm not diminishing that. Their families have stated so. However, this is the military. This is their job. This is not a country
That's
club.
bullshit. You know that.
And I give
Because I
from your
work for
perspective.
somebody, I have to be with you.
I get from your perspective, but let me put this in further context, Jimmy. If I was asked to serve in the military, or my sons, and I understood that I had an oath that I need to follow and a job to do, I'm going to do it. Is it going to be the best of circumstances? I understand suicide. I understand depression because I used to assess many of individuals for that in the past life. Yes. However, these are 200 families expressing what their members, their family members are saying in this particular situation on the USS Lincoln. Yes, it's happening. The Department of Defense is dealing with it. They dealt with it in the meeting with these families. However, that's not going to change the course of this war. It's tough. It's hard. You've got crew members who are sitting on ships in the straits right now, who have not been able to go anywhere. They haven't seen their families either. And this is war. This is wartime. And we have to look at it in that context. You can't have, oh, this war is awful and is unnecessary, et cetera, but then be in this war, enlisted to serve in the military, and at any moment have to be at war and then complain about it. You can't have it both ways. And so, there is a plan. There was a plan. As I've stated before, the kinetic activity has been over since March or April. That war was won. The bombing and all that stuff, the actual kinetic military action, that was over a long time ago. And what you and others who are just steadfast stuck on the actual kinetic activity of what's happening in Iran and the Gulf don't see the larger picture. There is Operation Economic Fury, and I'm sure you already know the IRGC and the leaders who want to continue this garbage until the midterms. And what they're doing is what they did to Carter. String this out until the next election. Okay. And what did that get us? So the IRGC and these knuckleheads, this death cult, are wanting to do is string this out, hoping that the midterms will have an effect on the president and the Republicans. Whatever. Economic Fury has done more damage to the IRGC than any bomb could do. And it's been stated that they are more fearful, the IRGC, are more fearful of Secretary Scott Bassett than they are of the U.S. military. Why? Because every financial asset is being frozen, diverted, taken away to the point that, hey, if you can't pay your IRGC troops, what are they going to do? If the value of their currency is worth garbage, what are they going to do? If the system to finance the terror across the world is gone, what are they going to do? So let this string out until the midterms. Hey, let it string out to 2028. By that time, it's game over for the naysayers. It's game over for the progressives. It's game over for the liberals because Trump can still have a Congress that is all Democrat and they can impeach him all they want, but he's also the president. He can also have executive orders, and you can take him to court over and over again. But it appears they're losing, not the president, not the Republicans, but for the most part, they're losing at the Supreme Court level. Things aren't as bad. Core inflation actually was steady, if not a little bit lower. Core inflation, taking out energy and food, which has always been up and down, up and down. And all true economists will say, hey, there's core inflation and then there's the overall inflation that takes into consideration energy and food. For the most part, inflation is steady. Another thing about the cost of living, I did this exercise with my mom recently. And I said, and she was making the same argument as you, cost of living. I said, Mom, I went grocery shopping. How much did you pay for eggs recently, Mom, when you went grocery shopping when I visited? Oh, she said for a dozen eggs, she had to pay about $7. I'm like, wow, $7, huh? I said, Mom, you know the type of eggs I get? She's like, yeah, they're really good, fresh eggs. I was like, yeah. I got 30 of them for $7. Large, fresh eggs, 30 for $7. The difference is she lives in Illinois. I live here in Florida. She orders her through I call a boutique store that has it delivered, and that's her choice. That's her choice. Me, I go to a market, I see my eggs, I get them at 30 a pack, and I get a good deal. When I also went to this market, it filled my cart with meats from steak to salmon to chicken. It came out to about $100. That's going to last me for a couple of months because I just don't eat as much as a two-person household or even a family of four. So I think this cost of living argument is relative to the person who is talking about their cost of living. Yes, do I pay the same amount of gas as you do? Yes, so do they up north in Illinois. They're paying the same amount, $3.99. I was shocked. So I think it's all relative to the person who's talking. Lately, I've been going out to dinner for business meetings, and yes, the cost is a lot higher than what it was a year ago or 2 years ago. Do I tip the 20%? I do, but I'm a little bit more selective based on the service. So I see the inflation in some of these areas. Yes, I do understand that the cost of energy, particularly in this wartime, is going to be higher than usual. I don't speed as much as I used to, save some gas. So I see people in the restaurants. I see young people going to the flea market. Granted, they're not walking out with bags of clothes or anything, but they're out. I see people in line for ice cream, gourmet ice cream. Granted, they're getting smaller cups besides the bigger cups, but they're still going out. They're going out to eat. They're going to the movies. $1 billion for Spider-Man. The economy is not as bad as some people think they are. Yes, the welfare rolls are lower. However, people are allowed to reapply and reapply under the new rules. You got to work or volunteer or go to school. So in the cost of living argument, I just wanted to say that um, I agree. Yes, the president does lie to the United States and to the world. That's his MO. And if people haven't figured that out by now, then I don't know what to say. Um, Again, the Iran war is more than just a kinetic activity, the bombing. It's a larger picture. And Operation Economic Fury, led by Scott Bassett, who there's really no one that I know who's better for that role than Secretary of the Treasury Bassett, knows where the money is and knows how to take it away. And it's crushing the IRGC. There are 90 million Iranians who are there who are suffering. If we bomb the shit out of them, where are they going to go? Because it will be a humanitarian crisis. And we know what happens when there's a humanitarian crisis. We saw that at Qatar, invading the 60,000 men who invaded Spain a couple of weeks ago. Where would those 90 million go? To Iraq, to Syria, to Jordan, to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. Do they want that? Hell no. No way. Just like Egypt put up a barrier and prevented Gazans from leaving Gaza into Europe during the Gazan war. There's no way these countries are going to want to absorb that humanitarian crisis. So you think they're going to be against the United States 100%? No. Do they know that the United States have this under control? Yes. And they're better off supporting the United States than they are not supporting the United States. And God bless national sovereignty. If they want the US out, hey, we're all for that in my belief. The United States is all for that. We have our own backyard to protect, and it looks like countries like El Salvador, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru. I could keep going on and on. Honduras, keep going on and on. How they all are turning to safety of their people, national sovereignty, clamp down on crime, and improving their economies. Argentina. So I just want to say that.
Okay,
That's a lot.
let me start with the last one. Argentina, since you talk about it, you brought it
Yeah,
up. We gave them billions of dollars because they're
yeah,
kind
and
of
we got it back
yeah.
with
No, we
interest.
haven't got no. That has not been
Yes, we
paid
did.
back.
No, no,
No,
Jimmy, we got it back with
no, we
interest.
did not.
We made
No, no,
money.
no, 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 no.
We
We
made
did
money
not.
on that deal.
No, we did not get it back. That's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, let me clarify the thing that you're saying. The problem with the people who are anti-globalists is not understanding how to deal with other countries. They deal with it in their mentality of Americans. Money is everything, and the rest is bullshit. We did that to Vietnam. We closed down their markets. We bombarded the shit out of them, and we lost that war. Why? Because the people of Vietnam wanted their freedom. They wanted their independence. They wanted us out of there. And by for the record, in Vietnam, it's referred to the American War. We call the Vietnam War. They call the American. Why was our biggest failure in Vietnam? Because we measured it with our standards, which is what you're doing. But Satan knows what he's doing. He's an idiot. Sorry, he is. If he thinks that after 47 years of oppression, financial oppression to the people of Iran, he has a better plan that's going to take them out and that he's not going to have money to pay these troops. These people are religious fanatics. Okay?
But it's working.
It's not working. Your people are lying to you that it's working. Look, let me put it this way. I'm going to prove my point very simple. They have not surrendered. They're still bombarding us, and they're still telling us to go to hell. But it's working. That's because, like Donald Trump, Bassett, and his cabinet are also liars. I'm going to call them out. The other issue here is are we going to be better taking out and letting uh, China come in, having Russia come in, have North Korea come in, have India come in? Maybe, maybe it's time for us to stop being the superpower of the world and being the most powerful nation in the world, and let somebody else do it, and let us be number two or number three. Realistically, we're number one in two areas: incarcerate people, uh, proportion to our numbers, and people who believe in angels. Other than that, we're not number one in anything
I
else.
believe in angels.
Huh?
I believe in angels.
I know, but I mean, that's a number one. The two areas that we're number one. I agree with you. Maybe it's time for us to let China take over control of the world and let's give it up. Maybe that's a good thing. I'm not sure.
I don't know about take over the world. I just think as the
Oh no
Monroe
no no!
Doctrine
Look,
and
if
the
if we don't
Trump
stop them,
corollary.
if we don't stop them, if we just we say, hey, we're out of here. Do whatever you want. They're going to go in, and that's why they're signing the agreements because they're thinking that the U.S. might abandon them. They're thinking that some of these crazy MAGA people who have been lying about certain things that are happening are thinking that Donald Trump is really one of them. He's not. Donald Trump is a opportunistic businessman who's trying to make a buck, and I don't have a problem with that. If he could make a buck out of getting out of Iran, he'll get out of Iran tomorrow. Just like he didn't listen to anybody to get in, he won't listen to anybody, and he'll get out. Right now, it is an interesting question. What does bother me is one thing that you just, as somebody who wore the uniform,
Mhm.
I do not appreciate saying, "Hey, you signed up for this. Shut up." No, I signed up for it, but that does not mean that I don't have a right to say when something's going wrong to do it. And yes, it's 200 families out of 2,000. Most military families have been also told, you do not bitch, you do not complain, because the American people is going to go against you. These people who are complaining are making legit complaints. And the fact that they're not being fed correctly, there's not enough water, there's not enough things that they need, and that there's suicide things there, and that there is no plan B, and there's not been a plan B. No. When you go to war, you plan, idiot. That's why I have my problem with Hegerset and with the military right now. You plan. You know what you call the most necessary thing in war? Replacement troops. You take out the U.S. at Lincoln and you put another carrier there. Okay? You move them around and you give these people a break.
Yeah,
Your
sure.
troops in the front get replaced by the first troops and they go to the front. This thing that you're there and you're fucked is only people from MAGA who don't know anything about war, but they think that, well, you signed up for it. Shut up. No, no. You shut up. A military person has a complete right to complain. He has a complete right to say this is unfair. He has a complete right to say this is inappropriate. They are not slaves. I'm sorry. They are members
Right.
of the United States
And,
military with their opinion and the right to speak. That's the
and,
great right that
and,
we have in this country. You
and
don't
Jimmy,
lose
this is
the right to speak because you
right.
joined the army. I'm
And
sorry.
Jimmy, this is the first time I'll disclose this. However, I do have loved ones in theater and adjacent to that theater, and so I I do watch what I say. However, I will say what I truly believe, and this is I'm just echoing what has been told to me. And I value your service, and I value these young men's service because they are men, young men. And what I've been told, I believe because it's coming from people who are much more closer to this than I am, and
Yes,
they've
but
shown some
in
they
what
shown
terms?
some displeasure with the comments made by these 200 odd family
Because
members.
in their mind, this is attacking Trump. And if you attack Trump, you're wrong. And let me come up with an excuse to what it look. I'm going to say this in a very candid way.
I think there's a
We
code.
have, huh?
Isn't
We
there a type of code that military follow, or at least a certain segment of the military?
whoa, whoa, whoa,
I,
whoa.
I, I'm,
No, no,
I,
no,
I'm
no. The code of
okay.
conduct. If you're going to talk about the code of conduct, tell your friends that's a completely different thing. That's that you
Fam-
back your soldiers and you go around. But the code of conduct, for those of you who do not understand this, I'm going to make it clear, also says that if I feel that I'm receiving an order that violates the U.S. Constitution or violates the agreement uh, of war or the terms of war or any of those things, I have the right to refuse that. But it does not say that I can be abused, mistreated, underfed, and not receive the proper uh, services. Look, this is a boo boo of proportions that Hacks has made. He should have said to his generals, okay, we need to replace this. We take out the U.S., we bring in the Ford, we take out the Ford, we bring in the. We have more than one carrier. I'm sorry. We have more than one carrier. It's not the only one. We
Mhm.
could have done that. But because he's a moron, he has no military experience whatsoever, other than carrying an M16 like I did, and I don't feel qualified to be Secretary of Defense. He is not managing this.
Mm.
And I know that your friends don't want to hear this because everything that Trump does has a ultimate great purpose. He's not that smart. He really isn't. But what I will say is yes, they have the right to complain. They do not have enough fucking water in that shit. Okay? Let's call it out. They don't have enough fucking food. But we're supposed to just shut up and take the abuse because we have a uniform on us? No. That's contrary to the code of conduct. The code of conduct that your friends are trying to use says that I have the right to disobey an order if it's illegal. And I have the right to complain if I'm not treated fairly. You don't have the right to slap a soldier. You could call him a
Wait,
fucker.
wait, was someone slapped?
No, no, no. I'm
Oh,
using
okay.
that. Oh, I'm using
Okay,
that as an example because on the
okay,
Euro thing, a drill sergeant comes up to a soldier, is pissed off with him, and just slaps him. You don't have the right to slap, and
correct.
I can
That's true.
and I can object to that. Okay, you don't. As a matter of fact, technically, if you call me a motherfucker, I could go and complain about it.
That's correct.
Okay, so when people say, "Well, they just have to put up with it," go fuck yourself and go get on the ship and go without enough water and go with not enough food, and you talk to me about it, okay? Because the truth of the matter, and this is where I'm going to call them out as bullshitters and MAGA fanatics. I'm going to call them that because if this was Joe Biden and this happened under Joe Biden's administration, they would be bitching about
I think Joe did dismiss a slew of military because they wouldn't take the COVID-19 vaccine.
it.
Um,
And Hakashev fired a bunch of militaries because they wouldn't kiss his ass. So we're
I
even.
think there's more to that.
No, no, no,
Just
no.
saying.
Look, he's not that smart. Sorry, he's
Okay.
not that smart. He's a moron. He's an alcoholic, for Pete's sake.
Thanks. Okay. Right. Oh,
You know,
also about military deaths in the Iran theater. I think in the course of this war, I think there's been more deaths by gunfire in Chicago by far than deaths of U.S. military um, in this war. So I just want to put that in context. My beloved Chicago putting
oh,
up some
you
horrible
know,
numbers.
with all due respect, you know how much bullshit that is? There's
No,
more
it's the
people.
reality,
No, no, no.
Jimmy.
No, no,
My
because,
beloved Chicago. I follow it every
yeah, but
single
supposedly
day.
your MAGA people are claiming that under Donald Trump there's less murders. Now all of a sudden they use the same Chicago because it's a Democrat city to say that there's more than. This is the problem that I have with
I
it.
use Chicago because that's my hometown.
Yeah,
I'm
and
just
it's true.
saying,
Is
Jimmy.
it true? We don't know because right now there's a lot of people who have a reason to believe that the numbers that the Department of Defense are giving are not correct. And there's more than one report to that. Okay, how true that is, I'll let it up in the air. So don't
Mhm.
give me that these are real numbers because I don't know if they are. And I'm sorry. The truth of the matter is how many people, soldiers, yes. How many civilians have died is another issue. And for the record, one is too many. Period.
Yes, agreed.
One is too
Agreed.
many. So to say there's more people in Chicago line than over here, that's bullshit. With all due respect, we there's no reason for people to kill each other in Chicago, and there's no reason for this war. Sorry, there is war. Is good for absolutely nothing. But we have to try to claim that we won this war. I don't know how because they're still going. Iran is still going. Iran is still telling us to go to hell. And every time Donald Trump says that this a deal is near, they say no. As a matter of fact,
Right.
they're discussing it with Qatar with the condition that the U.S. don't participate, and we have accepted that.
Right. I think also there's a another motive in regards to um, this war, and I believe it's the uranium one that the U.S. military is trying to secure, and the nuclear sites, particularly Pickaxe Mountain, that Iranians still hold.
But we won the war.
I think so. I know so.
Yeah, but yeah, everything that we set out to do, we haven't done. Oh
I
no!
disagree. I
What have we
disagree.
accomplished?
Going, I'll use your example of the strait being closed. There's more oil going through there now than there was 2 weeks ago, than 3 weeks ago. It's about the same level as before the war. There have been new
So answer me
routes.
one question. Answer
Wait,
me
wait, wait.
one.
There's been new routes established to
Answer me one question.
avoid the strait. Yes,
Why isn't the price of gas gone down? Because this
because
bullshit
one,
was coming out of Jimmy.
we don't set the price of oil internationally. I've stated that we don't.
No,
The paper
that's an
traders in
excuse
the city of
that the
London
MAGA
do.
people have made up, and I respect that because that's bullshit.
It's
But
general economics,
it
Jimmy.
is. But the bullshit is that oil is flowing through there.
It is, Jimmy.
Well, but
It
according to
is.
when I go in the map and see the same ships are there, and the people from Saudi Arabia say they're not going through, the people of Qatar saying it's not going through, people of Arabia saying it's not going through, the people of Iraq are saying that's why they're building the pipeline because it's not going through. So I'm not sure who you're listening to other than Donald Trump and his 40 liars, but it's not going through. It's not going through because
But
if it was, the price of oil would be down worldwide. Sorry. What's keeping the oil price is not London. It is the shortage of that one third of the oil that the world depends on is not going through the stretch of Hormuz. Sorry. Bullshit, lies that is going through.
okay.
Every country in the world says it's not going through, other
So
than Donald
so
Trump.
wouldn't the price of a barrel of oil be 150 right now? Wouldn't, as you predicted, there would be gas lines that will be facing, economic crisis if that was the case?
You have one third of the oil of the world is going through. You know where there's gas lines?
Not in the United States of America. God
No,
bless us.
in other countries.
Don't
There
live in
are.
other countries. And
And you're
hopefully
sure
Europe
that
is
other
and
countries,
hopefully Europe is facing the crises because of their over reliance on this green energy crap. Just saying. Britain is
let's
sitting
say,
on the North Sea oil, a reservoir, but they won't tap it. They're
yeah,
killing themselves.
because it's political suicide. It's just like we
Yeah.
have a lot of oil here that we won't tap into because it's political suicide.
No,
Environmentalists,
we just tapped into the pipeline, the drilling in California. The president used his war powers over the governor's dissent. It's like,
And
dude, why are you
do
guys? Why is California paying astronomical
you
prices
know how much bullshit
for
came
oil
out right
when
now?
they're sitting
That
on
pipeline
a
will
huge deposit
by the
there? I
time the
don't get it.
pipeline will be functional, we've had two presidents after Donald Trump. Sorry,
I
this is
think
the problem
they're.
that I have with these lies. We put a
I think
pipeline.
they're
Yeah. Is any oil
pumping.
flowing through it right now? No,
I think so, Jimmy.
no, it isn't. No, it isn't.
I think the New York Times just announced that earlier this week.
It's not going through.
Uh,
It's approved.
okay.
It's approved. It is not functional. There's a big difference. But
Okay.
look,
Okay.
the truth of the matter is that right now, majority of this country, I would say 75 to 80% people are against the war of Iraq. 75 to 80% do not understand why we're in war with Iran. And 75 to 80% do not think we won the war in Iran. I'm sorry, but is this going to affect the midterms? Yes, but it's not the Democrats who created this problem. It was the Republicans.
Yeah. The Santa Barbara oil pipeline has the pipeline I'm referencing has began moving roughly 43,000 barrels of oil daily.
And
Just saying.
the price of oil is not coming down in this
I
country.
don't think 43,000 barrels are going to do it, Jimmy, but point well
It's not
taken.
going. It's not going to do it. The problem here is that we try to create excuses for what he did, and
Yeah.
I admire the MAGAs trying to say that it's London, that is this, that is that. The truth of the matter, at the end of the day, this war is not properly planned. No discussion in that area. It was not properly planned, and for the record, it was not properly thought through. Donald Trump told us on February 28th that it would last 10 days and that Iran would surrender. Worse, he said, as a matter of fact, I'm going to use his words, Iran will do an unconditional surrender. Neither the two have happened. Uh, they have no capability, but 2 weeks ago they killed 4 soldiers by throwing rockets. But we haven't liquidated everything. Yeah. Right now, they're starting to use drones because cheaper can be done. You know where you could get them? On Amazon. Sorry.
That's true. That's true, Jimmy. Oh my goodness.
And if you think that Jeff Bezos will not sell those, he's selling them. And
Uh-huh.
for the record, he's selling them to countries that just send them to Iran. This is the bullshit of all of us. We're cropping them down. No, they're buying drones from
Yep.
Jeff Bezos. Okay? Sorry. Oh, I'm not sending them to Iran. You're right, you're not. Where are you sending them? I'm not sure where exactly, but they're going worldwide. Oh, and they can't be repackaged and sent to Iran. Yeah, they can. And that's the bullshit that we're coming up with, that they're out. Look, Ukraine has used drones extremely effectively to take them out. Iran used drones to bankrupt us. Basically, they started throwing drones towards Israel, and we send Patriot missiles to take them out. Okay? And now we're short of Patriot missiles, or we have none. And by the way, Patriot missiles and those missiles that intercept take between 18 to 24 months to be delivered.
Uh, Jimmy, there are other technologies that are being used in Iraq. I mean, in Iran, right?
In Iran, yes. But can you answer me one question and be as honest as you can?
Mm-hmm.
What technology did we use when Iran threw the rockets towards our soldiers in Saudi Arabia to take them out?
Jordan.
None.
Um,
None.
okay.
It's a fact. None. So when
True.
people tell me, do we have the things? Look, with all due respect, and I'm going to say this as to all
Mhm.
you Macs, these were rockets that were aimed at U.S. bases and U.S. troops. And we did not intercept them because we did not have the technology to do so. That is something that we need to discuss. We won this war, but yet they were capable of throwing more than one rocket. Let's put it, I call it the way it is. It was something like 18 or 19, and they went to Saudi Arabia, and they were going towards, and they went to our bases, and they killed our soldiers, and we had
Mhm.
nothing to intercept them with. Yet every rocket that Iran threw towards Israel, we did have the weapon. It's, this is the things that you might want to say, well, this, and I'll give you a week to come up with some bullshit excuse because that's what MAGA does. They come up with bullshit excuses. Well, the truth of the matter is we won the war 2 weeks ago. Iran took out our bases in Saudi Arabia with more than one rocket. So, according to the U.S. government, 18 could have been more because, but at least 18. But they they have no air force, they have no navy, they have no nothing. Yet they control the Strait of Hormuz, and the two ships that they want to go through, they threw rockets at them. But
Mhm.
there, we won the war. If that's winning the war, I don't know I don't want to know what it is to lose. But with that in mind,
Can I add this, Jimmy, before you go into it? So, does that mean you recommend the expedited removal of U.S. forces from the Mideast?
look, I come from a very military thing. Or you go all in or you don't. And if we're just going to sit there and look and do nothing, or just send some jets out and throw little bombs at bridges and other little points that we claim are military value, which at the end, I don't know what value they are because they're still throwing rockets at us, but okay, whatever. Okay, just give them credit. Or either you go in or you go out. Simple as that. That's my assessment. If we're just going to sit there 10 months and just sit there and do nothing, that's something. And by the way, part of the problem with the USS Abraham Lincoln is that those
Mhm.
soldiers are scared because they know that if Iran throws any uh, rockets at them, they don't have a way to stop it. They know that. But so let's go into the fuck up of the weeks.
All right.
Fuck up of the weeks are very simple. Republicans, you are divided, and you really, really need to unite. Uh, it's kind of
The
interesting.
Republicans? The
Yes,
Republicans or the Democrats?
no, the Republicans. You're
Okay.
divided because right now there's those of you who are MAGA and those of you who are conservatives, but you are afraid, both of you, of Donald Trump. It's kind of interesting. He blames everything that's going bad, not on him. Everybody likes him, but hates the Republican Party. That's kind of interesting coming out of his mouth, but you need to deal with it. Right now, you have an economy that's not good. You have a war that's not popular, and you're just going to have to suffer that consequence. Democrats, you're not divided. You have two factions in your party. You have the progressives that you have tried to push away for years. You did that with Bernie. You did that with every other person that you could. Right now, they've learned how to organize, and they're winning some races and losing others. But more important, you cannot ignore them much longer. You need to sit down and work with them. They are part of the party, they're part of the electorate, and you need to do and learn from the Republicans. Do you think conservatives like MAGAs? They hate them with a passion, but they've learned how to deal with them in order to win elections and in order to survive their control of the House and of the Senate. You need to do the same. MAGAs are the problem of the Republican Party. When you have a Nancy Mace saying that all Muslims should be removed from the United States, nobody says that. That's okay because MAGA people think that's good. That's fine. Most conservatives don't think that. I give them more credit than that. That some of the people in the progressive side say things that are crazy. Yeah, we all have our crazy uncles, and we have ours in our party too. But it's time to sit down and work together. Right now, the Republicans don't have somebody who's a front runner for president. The Democrats do. It's not Newsom. It's not the governor of Kentucky. It's not the governor of Maryland. It's none of the traditional Democrats. Granted, is 1 point advantage, but the fact that that person is the number one person within the party favorite to run for president is surprising. It's surprising because it is a person that the Republicans in their dreams would love to run against. And I would also love to run against Vance or Rubio because they have so much blood on their hand that it will be easy to beat them. Democrats, you need to sit down. Not put your house in order. That's stupid. You can't do that. It's work out an agreement. Are you going to agree with everything the progressives say? No. Are they going to agree with everything that you say? No. Learn from the Republicans. They have their crazy. They're called the MAGAs. They come up with excuses. They want to have a war in Iran. They want to kill a lot of people. They will tell you that the United States of America, the president who they elected, who said, don't worry, once I elected, I can fix all this. Now they try to say, no, he can't. It's the fault of London. Bullshit. The man promised to fix it, and he didn't. So, at this point, sit down and negotiate. Now with that, give me your comments. You know that I do dedicate programs to answer your comments. Subscribe if you care, and if you can, like or dislike, and we'll go from there. But with that in mind, I will see you all next week. And remember, your enemy is not your neighbor. Your enemy is not the MAGA or the progressive. Your enemy is that state representative, that congressman, and that senator who sold their soul to the highest interest and are corrupt. They're not there to serve you. They're there to serve themselves.
Correct.
See you next week. Take care.
Take care, Jimmy. See you after Election Day.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Oh, indeed. We'll talk to you soon.